I'll probably present it over here. So our first ask is adding stop signs on all junctions in Masterbrook Preserve community. So Raymond Boulevard used to be the main road, but right now we have so much traffic on Channel, we have so much traffic on Leah Way. So we recommend or we request that if there are certain more stop signs that could be added, that would definitely help, curbing the speeding issue. Secondly, I have seen, I used to live in Lake Parsippany. I was at, 43 Camden Road. So, right, and I used to walk a lot at the lake. There are a lot of flashing signs which demonstrate your speed. And then I start looking at some of our communities like Hunting Ridge. There are flashing speed signs over there as well. So I'll request town to consider putting some flashing speed signs, especially in that area, in the Mazarook area as well. And again, I'll probably extend the discussion to larger Parsippany because I'm sure that's on your agenda. But if that could be accomplished from Mazdabrook, I think that would be a good signal wherein it's like right in my face that I'm speeding. We know that a lot of people, and that's something that police chief, when he called me, he mentioned most of the people that are speeding are residents, and we completely concur with that. And if some of us have to get a ticket or pay a fine to understand the lesson, I think that will be well worth it. But I think what all issues we can bring in to prevent that situation would be appreciated, and we feel this is one of the issues that can definitely help us. Maybe on three arterial roads, if we can have a flashing sign which demonstrates our speed, that'll be immensely helpful. The other thing that we wanted to propose was if we can have some speed bumps installed. Again, multiple communities in Parsippany have that implemented. I understand, I've been doing some research, I've been talking to some council members in different townships as well, how they have accomplished it, because I was told it's a flat no, it's not doable in Parsippany. So I want to table that idea again. I'm sure you would have considered it multiple times. But if in some communities where speeding is a profound issue, if some speed bumps could be implemented, I think that's something that definitely should be considered. And lastly, I'm kind of deviating, but again, this issue is still centered around children's safety. As you know, this community of Mazda Brook, it was a very small community to start with, then builder got permit to extend it. From the time, the community was envisioned, it was supposed to be 100 houses or less than that, and now it's more than 250 townhouses were added. So there's a lot of people that live over there. So right now we have close to 250 families over there and around 400 children, and we have only two bus stops where the school bus stops. For some of the kids who are right at the end, they probably need to walk
Sure, 30 seconds.
approximately half a mile. So I just wanted to raise these issues. Again, I would look forward to work with, mayor, the council and the town clerk and the police and everybody to ensure that this could be implemented. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciated all the good work you're doing. Thank you.
Sir, real quick, that school bus issue that you brought up at the end about the amount of stops, that would
That's-
be something that you should address with the school board.
That's right.
That would be with them. We really wouldn't have any say over that particular matter. All your other matters, yes. But the amount of bus stops, you should definitely bring that up with the Board of Education.
Okay, so okay, I don't have a connect. I'll figure out what the best way to reach out to
Yeah, they
them.
have meetings as
They
well.
have meetings? Okay,
Yes, they have
got
public
it.
meetings.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ken Dalsky, 21 Winfield Drive. Good evening. I'd just like to make a quick comment or two regarding the plastic bag situation. We have a number of towns in New Jersey, like I think about at least 20, that have implemented plastic bag bans. We have the whole state of Connecticut that has implemented these. It's not like this is the first time that this has ever been done in the United States or in New Jersey. So there's plenty of stores, plenty of other ShopRites and food towns and others that have gone through this process and should be able to provide information to any retailer as to what works and what doesn't work. And I really don't think we need a year in order to let them go through that process and figure out, how to do it. I don't quite understand the internet shopping issue, but if we're putting stuff in plastic bags, it seems to me maybe we should think outside the box and put stuff in paper bags, because those worked pretty well for as many years as I can remember ever going to a store. So I would think that it would not be hard to figure out, using the expertise and experience of others, what works and what doesn't work. So I would strongly encourage the town council to pass the ordinance tonight, just as it's written, and then if anything really comes up that we feel is really hurting somebody and needs to be fixed, we'll take a look at it. But let's not delay. Let's move this through, and let's pass what we put on the table last time and get it into motion. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lily Benavides. I live in 17 Jefferson Avenue. I'm in favor of the plastic bag ban, and I think 6 months is 6 to 8 months is more than enough. We are already late as it is, and if we remember when they started prohibiting smoking on the restaurants, all the business came up and said that they were losing their clients, and that didn't happen. So we are here now, and nobody smokes in the restaurants anymore. Regarding other issue, last time I was here, we were talking about creating a committee for disability, and I'm just reminding you of that. I think it's necessary. I always have issues with that. Just this week, I went to pick up my grandkids at the school, and there was that car parked there on the same spot. I don't know who that is, but he or she doesn't have any placard or license plate with the disability logo. And the other issue is that in Lakeshore Drive in Lake Hiawatha, on the weekends, and I'm guessing it's because it's the summer, I'm not sure, but there's parties or things going on the houses, and they park on both sides of the street, and you have to wait from one side to pass to allow the other one to go that way, and just it's kind of inconvenient for us driving on that street. And I don't pretend that the town start doing what many other towns do, that you can park on one side and then you have to move to the other one, because that's very inconvenient, and we are lucky that we don't have to do that. But it's difficult, and just thinking about a fire truck or an ambulance going through that street on a weekend, that would be a problem. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. See no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Okay, before we move on, I just want to state, I think that we would all be in agreement that, being that was also what was said, that the ordinance wouldn't really kick in for about 8 months instead of the 6 months. And Mr. Dulski, you stated exactly what my thoughts were, that we get this rolling. We get it rolling, we get it started. If something comes up afterwards, and we need to make some kind of amendment, I know Mrs. McCarthy is going to meet with, some of the businesses. We can take a look at it there, but at least it's started, and we've gotten it. And hopefully by us taking the leadership role, surrounding towns, Hanover, Montville, some of these other towns will then put their own plastic bag bans in, and one, that'll be great for the environment for everyone, and it'll hopefully lead to a state ban, and it will also help our local businesses in Parsippany, because now everybody has it, so it just won't affect people in Parsippany. So again, it's realistically, it's about 8 months instead of 6 till it takes effect anyway. So that just gives the businesses a little bit extra time, but we have it started, and it will be banned in about 8 months. All right, moving on to ordinances. Mr. DePiero.
Ordinance 2019:33. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, creating Chapter 181, single-use bags at retail establishments of the Code of Parsippany-Troy Hills. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on June 25th, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on July 16th, 2019, at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or soon thereafter, as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes, I just want to say, that I proposed this ordinance and the council unanimously is supportive of it. And to quote the council president, I think that this is something we need to do now, and we have to stop destroying the environment. So, yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
McCarthy?
Council President,
Yes.
with respect to ordinance 2019-34, I spoke to the administrator and the clerk before the meeting, and I'm going to ask to have the introduction of that ordinance deferred. We have a couple of more legal issues to look at. I don't think it's appropriate to move forward with it right now.
So I'll entertain a motion to table that.
Yes.
Motion.
Ordinance?
Second.
So motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Do we have to state a date on when we're tabling it to?
No, because it was not introduced yet.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ms. Peterson?
Ordinance 2019:35, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, amending the redevelopment plan for property identified as Block 200, Lot 1.2, and referring the said amendment to the Planning Board for review and comment in accordance with the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A:12A-1. Jim, is that et sec?
et sec, correct.
Et sec. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on June 25th, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on July 16, 2019 at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Motion.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
What property is this?
This is the Stanberry property.
Yeah. Okay. No.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Mrs. Grignani?
Ordinance 2019:28. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, creating Chapter 160, filming of the Code of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on May 21st, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the May 14th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:28 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:28. Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one else.
Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019:28.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in its title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:29, white collar salary ordinance 2019. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, held on May 21st, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the May 14th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:29 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open public hearing for ordinance 2019:29.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one else.
Seeing no one come forward, motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes. Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:30, an ordinance establishing the salary ranges for the Township of Parsippany blue collar R and F employees, 2019 through 2022. The notice of the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record and the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills on May 21st, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the May 14th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:30 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing 2019:30. Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:30.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only.
Motion
See-
to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019:30.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore it be resolved that said ordinance is passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Everybody enjoying their civics lesson? Ordinance 2019-31, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, accepting the grant of utility easement over a portion of Block 25.4, Lot 1 on the official tax map of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on May 21, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the May 14, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that the ordinance 2019-31 be held in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
It's a motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by, was it Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019-31.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only. We have someone? We have a winner.
Just a simple question again. Where is this block lot?
This is off of Route 10. I believe it's the Cedar Crest condominiums. We required an easement here in order to repair a water line and to establish water service across Route 10 onto the property.
Thank you.
This is related to the broken pipe under the
Yes,
highway.
that's correct, yes.
And I believe they're working on that project right now.
That's right.
Seeing no one else?
Come forward. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019-31.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
She beat you to it, Mike, sorry. Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:32. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, authorizing the acquisition of a portion of the property identified as Block 421, Lot 56, on the tax map of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills pursuant to the local land and buildings law. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on May 21st, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the May 14th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance, 2019:32, be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing, 2019:32. Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only.
The same question. With the block lot, could you identify the exact part of the town, please?
Sure. This property is adjacent to Mountain Lake Dam. It's located at 161 Cedar Crest Road. Property owner had allowed the township access to the property in order to repair and maintain the dam, but we need to acquire a permanent interest over the property in the future. So we're going to acquire a portion of the property for access to the Mountain Lake Dam.
Seeing no one else, come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion.
Okay, motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:13. Bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the water utility in and by the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $4,598,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,598,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance the cost thereof. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, held on May 21st, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the May 14th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:13 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:13.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one else,
Seeing no one come forward, I close the public, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes. Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Non-consent agenda.
Yes.
Resolutions R 2019-139, resolution of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing requests to the Southeast Morris County Municipal Utilities Authority to sell water at retail to certain properties located along Route 10 East and Johnson Road in the township, approving a retail service agreement and authorizing filing of a petition with the Board of Public Utilities pursuant to NJSA 40:14B-26. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2019-141, resolution authorizing execution of amended agreements with interested parties/interveners in affordable housing declaratory judgment action in furtherance of approved settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy? Ms.
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Is this something that we should ask Leslie to make comment on? Since they spent the whole night here?
Sure,
We're going into closed session.
we are, but why don't you just give the...
This part, we
council
voted on
just
this publicly, so
Right.
a portion of this should be public.
Right. Just a brief overview of what happened on Friday and the need for the agreement. Or agreement.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
On Friday, June 21st, we had our fairness hearing before Judge Gauss in Sussex County. The judge who was initially assigned to our case, Judge Neergaard, retired. This was the second judge in the case who had retired, which shows you how long this case has been going on. And we are now no longer in Morristown, we're in Newton, New Jersey.
Oh, my.
So a lot has happened. The proceeding went very well. Ed Snikes presented the testimony on behalf of the township regarding the settlement agreement and the various inclusionary projects that will be part of your plan. The court master, Brian Slough, presented his report to the judge, and he is supportive of the settlement agreement and recommended that it be also approved. He set forth in his report, which I hope everyone has seen. If not, we can make sure you have a copy of. But he set forth 20 conditions that need to be addressed by the township in 120 days. The 120 days started as of last Friday. Many of the items are not very involved. Some involve going back and just documenting the credits that we are taking or seeking to take as part of the plan. The more onerous and longer items that need to be done are passing the ordinances and resolutions to effectuate the zoning changes that will be needed as a result of the projects. The settlement agreement, as was mentioned, is amended, well, not the settlement agreement, I should say the agreements with the developers. We had to make a slight amendment, which I can go into more detail in closed session. It was just a word change that was identified by Kevin Walsh from Fair Share Housing Center. The agreements, there are a separate agreement for each of the developers who will be providing an inclusionary project in the township. It sets forth the obligations and responsibilities and the number of units that they will be required to build, the number of affordable units. Everyone has 20%, and sets forth some criteria for those projects. And there's a general concept plan that each of the developers has provided the township with. But again, all of this will go to the planning board, so more detail will follow. So we're on our way. We have a lot to do in well, now it's less than 120 days. You had previously engaged the services of CP, G, and H, I think those are the alphabets, but as an administrative agent to assist in your preparation of a spending plan document with Ed Snikes, also a marketing plan, the market to affordable, the group home program. So there's a lot of documents that need to be produced. These are not documents that are unique to the township. They are throughout the New Jersey that this company has done before, so we are ahead of the scale. And also the agreements with each of the developers. The court was pleased, and the court master was very pleased that we had taken the initiative to start those agreements and have them executed prior to the hearing, because that is one of the conditions that was set forth in the report. And each of the developers, they have all executed the agreement. It just, at this point, needs the mayor's signature.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Council President, I'd just like to recognize Ms. London and Ms. Snikes for all their efforts. They really, in my view, did an outstanding job with a very difficult issue.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we at motion to approve
Yep.
the above
Yes.
resolution? Okay, motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we said motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. This was for the affordable housing. We did that.
Oh, sorry.
That was already done, so we just,
Yeah,
we're
we're
on the
on
next
the
one.
consent
Oh, we're on.
agenda.
all
No,
right.
no, we have
Nope, you have one more.
our 2019-142 still
42,
has to
yeah.
be read.
R 2019-142, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills determining that Block 200, Lot 1.03 as well Block 200, Lot 1.2, previously deemed to be a non-condemnation redevelopment area as modified by annexation, be designated as a non-condemnation redevelopment area in accordance with the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A:12A1, etc. Motion to approve the resolution.
So just by way of explanation, this is a Stanberry-related item. Council will recall that it adopted a annexation ordinance where approximately a little less than 2 acres of a portion of the property in Hanover was transferred to the Township of Parsippany, and in exchange, the township gave up a little less than an acre of its property in order to adjust the municipal boundary line. This resolution now makes those areas that have been adjusted pursuant to the annexation subject to the redevelopment plan already adopted for the Stanberry project.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
No.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Consent agenda. Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero? Ms.
Yes.
Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approval of payroll and bills list. CFO Ann Cucci recommends authorization for payment. Authorized payment of the June 28, 2019 regular and miscellaneous payroll estimated at $2,500,000. Payment of bills from voucher list of 6/7/19 through 6/21/19 totaling $9,970,659.59. Motion to approve the authorization for payment above by
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss Carriffy litigation / liability of claims and affordable housing, and whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills that the public be excluded from this meeting. Motion to adjourn into closed session.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes?
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
We're in closed session.
Do you expect action to be taken?
We're not expecting any action.
No action to be taken. All right, now we need a motion to reconvene into open session.
Motion to reconvene into open session.
Second
Okay.
that.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. McCarthy to reconvene into open session. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes?
Okay, now we need a motion to adjourn.
Second? Sorry.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Have a good night.
Bye.
I'll talk to you.
will.
Hey, what about, once you find anything out?